Hello, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Great to see you all. Okay, people are also joining. Let's wait for a couple of more minutes, then let's get started. Oh, so many people are coming in. Hey, okay, someone has joined. Hey, too many people are joining. Let's just wait for another 1 minute. I hope every one of you are doing great today. Okay, so let's get started. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking your time and joining us today in this webinar. My name is Anirban, and I am heading the customer experience team in Apps 365. I am really excited to be a part of this webinar. There are two reasons. First is this is the first of the webinar series we have started. And secondly, we will be going to talk on something which is the heart of almost all business enterprises, right? The contracts. Yes, so we have a 45 minutes power pack session planned for all of you today. We'll start looking at some of the challenges which the organizations are facing with their traditional contract lifecycle management. And then we will look at how contract lifecycle management is getting evolved and how Microsoft 365 provides an interesting foundation for that evolution. I have my product expert, Mr. Frank, with us today, who will take us through CLM 365 with a live demonstration. And then we will move into that part, which I am so much sure that many of you are particularly interested in, the AI agents. And you will see it working with real contract scenarios. Lastly, we'll talk about the securities and the trust. And today I have brought a real customer success story, which I will be very happy to share with you all. And then we have kept a segment for answering all your questions. Please feel free to drop your questions in chat. We will be very happy to answer those. All right, so let's get started. Every contract tells a story. So true. Yes, every contract has its own story, but hardly every organization knows where that story is, isn't it? There can be an NDA which is sitting in someone's inbox. There can be someone in your organization who is talking about a contract or talking about a particular clause in that contract, but they are absolutely clueless, like, where that contract has been saved, right? So, in today's day, contract process, the entire process is pretty fragmented. It's spread across emails, folders, shared drives, and of course, local copies as well. Important clauses, obligations are so difficult to find. Legal team, they have to spend so much of hour to manually review all these documents. Approval itself is kind of a lengthy process in this entire system. So, of course, everything which connects together, we will discuss it today, and we will see, how the contract management can get evolved in a real time. But before that, let me ask you three very simple questions. right? You do not need to answer me, just answer to yourself. First question, how many does your organization signs every year? Okay. If someone from your leadership asks a particular contract, how quickly would you be able to find that? My last question, how many of us today, we are so much confident that none of our renewals will be missed in next 90 days? Pretty relevant questions, right? If any one of these questions made you feel pause, trust me, you are not alone. As someone who is working more closely with the customers, I've seen these kind of scenarios as so common. I'm working with across industries every day. We do a lot of discoveries, and these are some of the things which kind of gets a roadblock for all these organizations into their contract management process. So this is exactly why contract management has to evolve. And before I start explaining you where the contract management can get evolved, let's just acknowledge something very important. Traditional contract lifecycle management solved a very important problem. It has actually helped the organization to move away from a paper-based process to a completely digital process, right? It gave organization a centralized repositories. It has introduced workflows. It has introduced managed documents and the versions. But folks, today expectations have moved beyond document management. Legal is not only expected to manage contracts. No, legal is expected to help the business move more faster. And that's where the need of the new approach begins. So today's legal team, they are dealing with growing complexities, isn't it? Um, Firstly, the informations are, of course, it's all fragmented. Contracts are existing across multiple locations, shared drives, in someone's emails. Secondly, a manual review process. Legal professionals are spending so much of their business hours in just reading, searching, working on the amendments, and comparing the documents. We have also seen there are a lot of approval delays. So normally, what happens in a contract process? Um, it's not a kind of a single entity job, right? There are a lot of stakeholders, lot of departments involved in the entire contract lifecycle process. If any one of the department or any stakeholder misses one approval in the chain, then the entire process gets delayed, which eventually gives a lot of hiccups in the entire contract process. And of course, the visibilities are so poor. Even when organizations have a large amount of data, turning that information into something like an actionable insights are not always easy. So the challenge is not that the organizations are working with too much of contracts these days. The biggest challenge is that there is too much of valuable information, which are trapped in those contracts. Let me share a real conversation I had recently, because I think this is very relevant in this discussion. A few weeks ago, I was doing a discovery with one of our customer. They happens to be in a manufacturing organization. When we went into discovery, we understood that managing the contracts was largely a kind of a manual process. It was a pretty straightforward process, rather. A contract would come in, someone from the business team would review it, legal again would review it, comments would go back and forth, approvals would happen through emails, and finally, it would go and store as a final version. But the problem was not really these kind of individual steps. They were dealing with multiple versions of the same contracts. And eventually, when this contract actually moved into the stage of renewal, the team members were completely clueless, like which version they should refer and what would be the exact renewal milestone which they need to achieve. And there we introduce CLM 365. You know, we we never said that let's replace the entire process and let's give you a completely new environment. No, we try to understand their contract process. We try to understand how they are what type of contracts they work with, where this contract comes in, and we try to completely replicate that process within CLM 365, but you know slightly automating that. We have introduced the AI powers, we have introduced seamless collaborations. I have my product expert Frank today in this webinar. He will address all these kind of specific insights when he will showcase the application. So before the CLM, the process was pretty manual. No, it was largely in emails, manual reviews, multiple versionings, manual follow-ups, of course. But once the CLM 365 was introduced, the goal became pretty structured. The journey became pretty structured. It utilized the central contract repository. The structured workflow happened. Collaboration happened real time. So it's not really about buying another piece of the software. It's about removing those frictions, what they were actually facing with their traditional contract process. All right. So, I have a very firm belief, because when I'm eventually speaking with a lot of organizations these days, I've seen that the role of legal has completely changed. Do you agree with me? Because 10 years ago, legal was primarily measured with compliance, governance, risk mitigations, and protecting the organization with all the kinds of clauses the agreement was having. I'm not saying those responsibilities have gone away today. Yes, it still exists, but legal is increasingly expected to move at the speed of the business, right? Sales wants faster contract execution. Procurement wants supplier agreements completed faster. Finance team wants a visibility into obligations, commitments. Leadership, they wants the business insights and better visibility into risk. So my perspective is legal is no longer just a support function. Legal has become a strategic business partner. Yes. And that brings us back to the customer story, which I just now shared. When legal spends significant time searching the documents, following up on the approvals, checking the correct contract versions, and manually tracking all these dates, it's very difficult for legal to operate as that strategic business partner. So here the question is, the technology with which we are working, is it supporting or has it evolved at the same pace? So that's where we are moving in, right? Let's see how Microsoft 365 can support us in this evolution journey. So for many organizations these days, Microsoft 365 is where their entire works happens every day. People collaborate in Microsoft Teams, documents are managed through SharePoint, communication happens through Outlook. Organizations already have processes and users working within this ecosystem, so they're pretty familiar, right? So it's not the right question that where can we add a new contract management system? Perhaps I feel the better question can be that how can we bring the contract management closer where our people are already working? And that's where Microsoft based 365, CLM approach become very interesting. All our team members, they're pretty familiar with the environment. We can collaborate with the stakeholders, that too real time. We can take the leverage of Microsoft 365 Foundation for all our contract informations, document repositories. And thereby, we're actually bringing in the legal team, the procurement team, sales, finance, leadership, everyone in the same environment. So whenever there are certain activities going around in any of the life cycle or any of the stages of the contract, each and every of these departments are completely sync. They are having a complete visibility. What's happening inside that contract? Who are working in that contract? What is the ETA of those tasks and the activity? Right? So the opportunity is not simply to add another disconnected system. It's to bring the modern contract management closer to where the business already works. All right. So till now, we have talked about the problem which the organization normally faces with their traditional way of contract management, how contract management can get evolved, and how Microsoft 365 is supporting with that evolution. And I'm sure now what you're feeling like when we can see the actual platform, when we can see those, real time in the screen. So I have my product expert, Mr. Frank, who's going to walk us through the CLM 365 and show us how these concepts come together in the actual platform. Frank, I hope this is a great time. Over to you.
Thank you, Nirvan. I'm Frank, Product Manager for CLM 365 at Cubic Logics. With the context in place, let me now take you directly inside CLM 365 and show the product how the product supports contract lifecycle. We'll follow a contract from its initial request through approval and legal review, explore the collaboration and timeline features around it, and then spend some additional time with the CLM 365 AA agent. This is the CLM 365 home dashboard. It gives each user a quick view of all the contracts, starting from the requests, active contracts, upcoming expirations, expired, terminated contracts, my tasks, and contractual obligations. Below the request, we can see where work is sitting across lifecycle, from drafts and approvals to negotiation and execution approval. The important point is this is not only a document repository, it is an operational view of the contract portfolio, the work in progress, and the commitments that must be managed. Let us begin with a new contract request. The requester selects appropriate contract type, submits the information needed to start the process, such as counterparty, important dates, payment terms, contract cost, and any supporting documents. On the right, CLM 365 displays the workflow that will apply to this request. Before submitting, the requester can already see the stages the contract will follow and the people who will participate. The requester can save this work as a draft or submit it into the configured process. CLM 365 supports configurable workflow. In this example, the request moves through business approval, legal review, e-signature, publish, and completion. Each stage can include the required approvers and multiple approval levels. A workflow can automatically applied based on criteria such as contract types, counterparty, department, or business unit. This ensures that every request follows the appropriate review and approval process. Now, let us move to a contract that has already reached its legal review. This contract workspace brings together the agreement, structured metadata, counterparty information, recent activities, history, AI-generated intelligence in one single place. The AI-generated summary helps users quickly understand the agreement, its purpose, key terms, and if any risks involved. Instead of going through the entire document, they can first read the summary and then check for important sections of the contract when needed. Draft. Contracts normally go through several rounds of negotiation. CLM 365 supports redlining and draft comparison so that users can quickly identify what has been added, removed, and modified between versions. Risk. The risks view helps the users find provisions that may need more attention and decide what to review first. And then we have tasks. Within the tasks tab, we can see what action is needed, who owns it, its current status, and the due date. The timeline provides a record of the contract's activity, including approvals, requests, and draft updates. On the right, the workflow tracker shows what is complete, what is in progress, and what is still pending. Deviation. The deviation tab shows any contract terms that differ from our standard terms, who is responsible for reviewing them, and their current status. Next to deviation, we also have the AA agent available directly within the contract workspace. So let me ask, what should I pay attention to before approving this contract? This AA agent is working specifically with the contract we have open. It looks at the information in this agreement and provides a focused response without requiring me to move between different tabs. So we'll also have a broader CLM 365 AA agent that works across the entire contract portfolio. We'll explore that later in the demonstration. So as we can see, the agent has responded. The agent has brought together the relevant information and presented in a clear and understandable way. Now that we have seen CLM 365 in SharePoint, let me show how it also works within Microsoft Teams, bringing contract management to where your teams already work, not the other way around. The product also helps users identify important clauses, understand where contract language differs from the organization's expected position. So this helps focus on the changes that are most relevant to the decision. So we have seen the core CLM 365 contract journey. Before I show the other AI features, let me hand over to Anirban for a quick poll and few comments.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Frank. And serious, this was insightful. Audience, please feel free to drop your questions in case if you have anything what you have seen so far in the live demonstration. But before, we are planning to move into the AI part of today's discussion. But before we go there, let's run a quick poll, and I'll request my organizers to run a poll. Please feel free and please participate in that poll so that we understand what's your perspective. So please take a few seconds to select the option that best represents your organization, and we'll keep those responses in mind as we move into our AI section. Frank, let's see, what questions, actually wins in this poll, and with that, let's see if we can map in our AI segment. Okay, so far we have got some responses. Identifying risks and maintaining compliance is one of that vote. All of the above. Okay, as expected. All right. Spending too much of time reviewing and negotiating on the contracts. Oh, 4 votes altogether. Okay, so far we have got 9 responses. Just a few seconds more. I'll wait to see if any other responses comes in. Tracking of obligations, renewals, and the deadlines. That's pretty evident. Yes. All right. Frank, I think we have got the perspective, and we are all set to move into our AI part, AI segment for today's discussion.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Anirban. Let us continue with one of the key highlights of CLM 365, the AA agent. So earlier we saw the AA agent inside the contract workspace. That agent was focused specifically on the contract we had open. Now let me show you a broader CLM agent which is available within the application. This agent can help users find information across the contract portfolio. So for example, I'll ask which contracts require renewal attention in the next 90 days. The agent may take a few seconds because it is searching across the relevant contract records and bringing the information together. Yep, great. We now have the response. The agent has brought together the relevant contracts and presented the information in a clear and understandable way. All right. So we have now seen the portfolio level agent inside the CLM application. So let me show how you can also see the contract intelligence, which can be accessed through Microsoft Teams and Microsoft 365 Cloud. So first, let us take a look at Microsoft Teams. Users can interact with the CLM 365 AA agent from the same environment where they already communicate and collaborate with their colleagues. For example, I can ask which vendors account for the highest contract spend. As you can see, the AA agent has started working already. It is going to give the response within a minute. And while it is working, we can also see the recent conversations here. The agent will take a few seconds to review the contract. It brings together the relevant information and present it in more actionable form. As you can see, it has started working and giving the results. All right, so we have seen how the agent has brought together the relevant contracts and presented the information in a clear and understandable way. Okay, so let us now take a look at the Copilot, Microsoft 365 Cloud. The same experience is also available through Microsoft Cloud. This allows users to include contract-related questions in a broader Microsoft 365 environment. So this is a broader question. So the A agent is bringing together information from multiple contracts to prepare a portfolio level response. So this A makes it easier for business leaders to understand the portfolio without reviewing individual contracts or reports. So it provides detailed information over here. And further, we can narrow down the prompts. So whether users are working inside the browser, Microsoft Teams, or Microsoft 365 Copilot, they receive the same natural language AI experience. CLM 365 is AI flexible by design. It integrates well with Microsoft 365 Copilot, Azure OpenAI, allowing organizations to choose the AI environment that best fits their strategy. So yeah, it's one CLM platform, your AI, your way, inside browser, Copilot, Teams, or Azure OpenAI. And with that, we come to the end of CLM 365 product demonstration. Thank you. I'll hand it back to Anirban.
Frank, thank you. And it was such an relevant experience. I hope our viewers, our audience have really liked it. In case you have any other question, feel free to drop your questions in the chat. We will be very happy to respond. With this, let's start the next topic, which is one of the most important topic, because I believe, I mean, contracts can commercially be very sensitive, right? It has got a lot of those information which are pretty classified for an organization. They contain pricing, obligations, intellectual property, customer intelligence, and other sensitive business terms. So AI capability is not just enough. No, you need intelligence, and at the same time, you need trust. CLM 365 is built around the Microsoft 365 environment. It is a Microsoft 365 certified app. So once you are in the app source, you will be able to see how Microsoft 365 has certified this product based on various testing, very based on privacies, based on security, data policies, and so on and so forth. Apart from that, the platform has an enterprise security approach with SOC 2 Type 2 certification along with ISO 27001 compliance. The future of contract management has to be intelligent, yes, but it has also to be secure, governed, and enterprise ready. And that brings us to a real world example. Right? I'm too much excited to share this name with you. Very recently, we have collaborated with a pretty esteemed organization, New Hampshire Judicial Branch. Um, it's like almost a month or two when we started doing the discovery. We understood what type of requirements this organization is having. So basically, they are kind of a code, and they're working with a lot of contracts. I mean, the first thing which the point of contact actually asked me, Anirban, before we come into these kind of sessions, first I need to understand how much safe is CLN 365 to run in our environment, because we do not want to share these kind of information with anyone, so you have to assure us. And that's where, Microsoft 365 Foundation gives the best security and trust. Since the application got deployed within the SharePoint infrastructure, the data cannot come out of that environment. So as a developer, as an organization, we will have absolutely zero contact with that data. And that brought us with a kind of a confidence, and they started more talking about the discoveries, the requirements. What we actually understood in that whole process was that around 8,000 plus contracts they were dealing in. And there were actually more than 15, 20 people, who were actually working with the entire life cycle of the contract. Yes, like other organizations, they were also working in a kind of a manual way, having a lot of frictions in the entire life cycle. Things were more into the email and a kind of a SharePoint document repository. Real problem what they used to face was the insights was very limited. I mean, which contract is moving at what direction, at which direction, at what speed, who are working inside that contract, that was completely no, that was not there. So that's where CLM 365 became a great success for New Hampshire. We demonstrated, we actually helped them to go into a kind of evaluation step, a trial step, wherein we helped them, assisted them to do all those type of configurations in their settings, which actually replicate and used to talk with their current way of working within the contract process. Then, after a kind of a few weeks of evaluation, they were very impressed and they were happy, very happy to sign up the contract with us. So in this case, the internal legal team has adopted CLM 365 as the platform was pretty common. It's Microsoft 365. All the team members in legal, in any other department were actually collaborating real time, and they were actually getting reminded of all critical events of particular contract. And at the same time, AI, it was helping them to give great insights, how many contracts are coming into an obligation period, or who are basically working in those obligations, what kind of risks are there in the current portfolio versus how many risks got mitigated. So all those kind of real-time insights were there within their teams. All right, so to experience this, what we have to do, that's where can we start experiencing all these things. So to make that pretty seamless, the good news is that you don't have to transform your current contract process just overnight. The best approach is to start with your own workflow. We can help you to start a trial. I can come into a call, our team can come into a call, and they can help you with the entire contract process. You can see actually how the platform works real time within your current workflow. Validate the kind of AI platform, what kind of capabilities are required to get those kind of actionable insights. And our team can also support you throughout the process and discuss what type of tuning configurations are needed as and when required. So the next step is not necessarily to make kind of a big technology decision today. The next step is to experience it against what your contract process is right now. So to do that, first let's see if you have any questions for us. We are all here to answer any of your questions, and we have talked about so many of challenges. We have seen how the traditional contract process, gives a lot of roadblocks inside inside the contract process. We have seen there can be a great evolution of from a traditional CLM to an AI-powered contract management, which is backed within the CLM within the Microsoft 365 Foundation. We have seen Frank has given us a great demonstration of the CLM 365 platform along with the AI agents. And also, we have spoke regarding the security and a real customer success story. So if this brings any question in your mind, feel free to drop those questions in our chat. We will be very happy to answer. I think this is the time wherein you can make this about your organization as well. You know, so for example, let's say if you have any questions about the AI agent, or maybe contract workflows, implementation strategy, or any specific use case, maybe what you are dealing with today, put your questions into the chat. Frank and me, we are here. We will help you to answer those questions. We have our team as well who can also give you relevant information, right? Okay, I'm seeing so many questions coming in. Great to see. Okay, let's wait for another minute or two. Okay. All right. So great. It was, I really enjoyed the entire webinar session. I hope, you've also liked the presentation. You have also liked the kind of insights which we tried to deliver in this session. But before we close, I'd like to leave with one thought today. The future of contract management is not simply about managing more contracts, right? It's about making the information inside those contracts more accessible, making decisions faster, helping the legal team spend less time searching more kind of relevant information in that contract, going in a manual steps. If you have seen today, all these kind of functionalities or a kind of a demonstration are pretty relevant for your organization. There are two simple steps, with which you can take this conversation a step forward. You can book a personalized demo with us and look at how CLM 365 actually looks with your actual contract workflow, or you can eventually start a trial and evaluate the platform along with the AI agents for your own requirements. The AI contract revolution is not about replacing legal professionals. It is about giving them the intelligence and those kind of tools to work and to help them there in their process to move faster. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us today, and we really appreciate you joining, and I hope the presentation you've liked it. Please share your feedback and your thought in our email, and you guys have a great day. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.